bringing her things. Dave caught Arthur mooching towards the bathroom with one of Sam's Warhammer figures concealed in his jowls. They began closing the bathroom door. For a few weeks, Galway sat and stared at the closed door in indignation. Sometimes in the middle of the night, she would sit there and yowl, but they didn't give in. And eventually she forgot about it, and so did everyone else. Which is why no one thought to tell Dave's cousin Brenda she should keep the upstairs bathroom door shut the one night she slept in the house alone this summer. Like Dave, Brenda comes from the small village of Upper Narrows in Cape Breton, and she came to Toronto for the first time ever this summer against her will. She wouldn't have come to Toronto on her own accord. Brenda gets nervous whenever she has to go to Halifax, but she won a return ticket in the Elks Meat Raffle. Third prize. Whenever Brenda thought about going to Toronto, she started to sweat. All the traffic and people pushing around you, you could get swallowed up in a city like that and never be heard of again. Brenda imagined there were people from Cape Breton who had gone to Toronto walking around aimlessly, looking for a way home, too shy to ask directions. One night she was lying in bed worrying, tossing and turning and thinking of all the things that could go wrong when the worst of all possible thoughts occurred to her. She phoned her mother in a panic. What if I like it? She wouldn't have gone if she could have got out of it, but everyone knew she had won the ticket. She arrived at the end of July at 9 in the morning, exhausted from the effort it took to get the plane off the ground. Had no idea flying was so tiring. She arrived so exhausted that the next morning, a Saturday, when Dave and Morley said they had to deliver Sam to camp, Brenda said she'd stay at home alone. She wasn't crazy about the idea of being alone at night, but she wasn't crazy about getting back into a car either. The drive from the airport had been fearsome, cars and trucks hurtling at them from every direction. There were 18 lanes of traffic. She listened politely when Dave gave her directions to a neighborhood cafe. Yeah, sure. Like she was going to go out at night. As soon as everyone left, which was 2 p.m, Brenda locked the doors, checked the windows, closed the curtains, and then she got out the little neighborhood map Dave had sketched for her, and she ripped it into pieces and flushed it down the toilet in case she lost her mind and was tempted to use it. She made her own supper, Kraft dinner, and she went to bed at 9 o'clock, which was really 10 o'clock her time. And she got up once to make sure the stove was off, and again to check the back door, and then she lay in the back bedroom with her eyes screwed shut and her fist clenched, following each police siren to see if it was heading her way, monitoring the strange noises of this strange house. She fell into a restless half-sleep shortly after 11, and then she woke up with a start, her heart pounding just after midnight when the toilet flushed. Brenda had read how some burglars leave unspeakable things behind them when they leave the scenes of their crime. She had never read about burglars who used the toilet before they began. Just her luck to get a weird one. She lay in bed motionless, everything clamped tight. Maybe he'd go away. Maybe he didn't know she was there. If he came into her room, she'd try and scare him away by snoring. The toilet flushed again. And suddenly she understood what was going on. Of course he knew she was there. This wasn't a burglar in the bathroom, it was a killer. He wasn't going to the toilet, he was sending her a message. He was going to kill and dismember her, and then he was going to flush her down the toilet. Brenda did the only sensible thing she could think of doing under the circumstances. She jumped out of bed, screwed her eyes shut, and leapt out the bedroom window. Dave's neighbor, Jim Schofield, who happened to be sitting in his backyard and saw it happen, said it was the most remarkable thing he ever saw in his life. I thought it was Morley, he said. I'm sitting there, and there's nothing, no noise or bang or anything, not a thing, and then all of a sudden, out she flew. Brenda landed on the roof of the gardening shed in Dave's backyard. She landed on her feet, like a cat. And she stood there in her nightie looking around, a few cuts on her arms, a big bruise on her shin, a sprained ankle, but nothing serious. Jim looked at her across the fence. They made eye contact. And then they both looked up at the same time at the broken window that she had sailed through. Galway standing there on the window ledge, flicking her tail at the moon. They looked back at each other again. Still, they haven't said a word here. And then Jim, who comes from the Annapolis Valley, said, "Nice night." Dave tells me he's talking about visiting Brenda in Cape Breton. And there's even talk of Brenda coming back at Christmas. Brenda's told everyone that Toronto wasn't so bad, that it's easy enough to meet people. As long as you go out at night. Thank you.